Federal defense attorney Ronald Chapman joins me now. Ronald, thank you for being here. You know, I asked that attorney, I said, would you take advice from a celebrity, from a football player or a comedian about dealing with a very sensitive financial instrument in a very complicated world of crypto? And he said, that's irrelevant. There are precedents to reward to the complainant in cases like this if you're a part of the scam. What would you say to that?
Well, certainly there is not precedent. There was one prior lawsuit in the 11th Circuit where a court did determine promoters of cryptocurrency could be liable, but those were actually the owners of the cryptocurrency. Extending liability to celebrity endorsers. I mean, could you imagine the public policy implications if before endorsing a product you had to know everything about it, whether it was defective or not? We certainly can't extend liability that far, and I don't think this suit is as strong as he believes it is.
On the other hand, you know, you look at the accounting practices, you can't even call them accounting practices that were being used by FTX under this guy. I mean, they're just, the Wall Street Journal spells it out. Even the current head of FTX, who's there to straighten things out, said he hasn't seen anything this bad since Enron. Isn't there some due diligence on the part of somebody who's going to advertise for the company to make sure that it's not a phony operation?
Well, we certainly have an Enron moment here. I understand that expense reports were being submitted by chats, and there was a bunch of sloppy business practices. When we look at liability in that context, we may want to look at the statements of Mr. Wonderful, who himself was an investor and said, I'm not worried about this company, or they have very high compliance standards. Those sorts of statements get us closer to the line of liability, but it needs to be somebody who was responsible for knowing information about the company and provided false information in order to induce people to invest.
Very quick on Elizabeth Holmes. I want to get back to that. Her sentencing is today. You know, she's another person who used celebrities to push a fraudulent scheme. She could get up to a maximum of 20 years. She argues, her lawyers argue for home confinement. Any chance she would get either the maximum or just the home confinement?
No chance of the maximum here. The statutory maximum is 20 years. Prosecutors asking for 15. It's tough to call. I'd say this sentence comes in somewhere around 8 years based on looking at the judge and his prior sentences. I think probation home confinement is a stretch. I think the 18-month sentence is a stretch. They're really going to be looking at deterrence here, especially given what has happened with FTX. Preventing these people from creating schemes like this and damaging investors is going to be on the menu for the judge today.
All right, Ronald Chapman.